Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another session on the Creative Well virtual retreat. I'm Aimee Blair, your host. We have been talking this week about refilling, refueling, recharging our creative batteries so that we are filled up and we can be inspired and go out and create. So today I am so happy to introduce to you and welcome to our event, Celia Barsby. Welcome, Celia.
Hi, thank you, Amy. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so happy to have you here today. Let me tell you a little bit about Celia. Celia is a creative visionary and now your personal cosmic soul guide. Celia creates safe spaces for women seeking inner joy and connection to their own wisdom. Find your passion for living in creative flow with the universe and recalibrate your life so that it becomes vibrant and magical, full of self-discovery and purpose. Your soul structures will be revealed to you in a powerful, fun, creative way through various transformational tools, enabling you to reclaim your soul's purpose so you can flourish and grow. So much goodness in that little statement,
Brilliant.
Celia. We love all those things.
Indeed.
Aw. So Celia, just to get started here today, I know your book in your community is called The Garden Party. Could you just talk to us a little bit about sort of the garden imagery and how you grew your community around that idea of the garden party?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. I love sharing and talking about gardens and the idea of having a garden party and just having people come to into my space, which is very much a metaphor for life. So as I'm looking out, I love interviews that can take place when I can see my garden. My
Mm.
garden is out there and supporting me. Quite often when I'm involved in interviews like this, something will happen out there. And he goes,
Mhm.
oh, I want to be seen. I say, oh, it's always got one eye going out there. So the garden for me is a really powerful metaphor for how we can move through our life. I have an external garden out there. I have an external business. I have a business called the Garden Party. But for me, when I talk about soul garden party, I'm talking about what's going on in our inner work. And there are so many metaphors. And I'm going to share a couple with you just to start with today. But you've got all of the imagery of planting seeds and tending and doing the work and then harvesting and having a rest period.
Mm.
Gardens have a downtime. Do we give ourselves a downtime, or do we think we've got to be going all the time? So much imagery, so powerful. And the garden really has been speaking to me in different ways, really in the last 3 years, I would say, culminating in my book, which naturally was called The Garden Party. So yeah, that's a little bit of a taste about why gardens. And I've always loved gardens, but it's just such a powerful symbol, powerful imagery of the work that we do
Mhm.
in creating, because gardens are all about creating.
Yes. And I assume, Celia, you said you have a physical garden where you like to go. Is that a part of your self-care practice or your working
Oh, definitely.
garden?
Yes. Yes. So, we all have those moments when we go, what am I supposed to be doing? And I'm very lucky that I can literally walk out of my back door and be barefoot on the ground, connecting with Mother Earth, because that
Mhm.
for me is one of my key self-care practices, that connection piece. Um, I have even gone out barefoot in the snow when I was feeling particularly, oh my goodness, I just need to be barefoot. I went, well, go out barefoot. Got a photo somewhere of me, my barefoot prints
Love
in the
that.
snow. But I mean, the summer is lovely because I am barefoot all the time, even in the UK. But that it really does allow me that connection.
Beautiful. Love that. So, Celia, we're talking about refilling the well in this event this week. And I've been asking all of my guests, start to notice when you're getting in that depleted state, when you've overgiven, overworked, over all the things that we do, and you're starting to just run dry on your creative energy and just your overall energy. What are those sort of telltale signs that red flag you that we're getting depleted? It's time to take a break, maybe.
Yeah, beautiful question. And it's so interesting that often we wait, don't we, until we have the signs and we're going, oh, why can't I do? Why can't I? And you go, oh well, when did you last fill up? I'm going to tell you a little story because I love stories. So here's a little story about the water butt that is in my garden. Okay, now a water butt, for that, if you don't know what a water butt is, just a storage container. So the rain falls onto my studio roof, runs down a drain pipe into this barrel. And I was thinking, the garden needs a bit of watering. I'll go and fill up. I'll go to the water butt because we've had a bit of rain. There'll be rain in the water butt. There will be rain in my storage system. And I went to the water butt and I turned it on. Nah, completely empty. I went, how is it empty? I'm sure we had some rain recently. I'm sure there must be something in there. And you turn the tap on and there's nothing there. And that is a symbol for how we move through life sometimes. We think we're full. We think we've got reserves. We think there's energy there. And we turn the tap on and we go, nope, it's empty. Yeah. How did that happen? And we're always surprised. Yep. We are always surprised. And we go, oh, wow. When did you last do anything to fill yourself up? And I think for me, how do I know? What a great question. How do I know when I need to recharge? For me, it's about recognizing the shadow of when I know I'm full. So if I think about how do I feel when I'm firing on all cylinders, when I've got, I'm mixing my metaphor slightly, but, I know my tank is full, I'm raring to go. There's, because water is life-giving, I've got a glass of water here that we cannot live without water. There's all sorts of research about that. So how do I feel? Well, I feel full of joy. I feel full of gratitude. I've got loads of energy. Somebody says, can you do something? I go, yes, of course I can. I'm enthusiastic. I feel confident, invincible, all of those things. And so when I'm feeling less than that, and I'm going, well, I don't think I could possibly do this. This is much too difficult. Oh, well, who will, and all of the self-doubt creeps in. I think when we are depleted, the voice of our inner critic, who in my world plays a numerous number of characters, I talk about different hats that my inner critic wears, they pop up all over the place and they get louder. And you go, yeah, well, they will do, because if you are an empty vessel, it's going to echo a lot louder, isn't it? And that actually, those voices get louder. So that, and for me, it's very much the self-doubt creeps in for me. And I go, well, I don't think, when will I do that? And all of those sort of shadow energies rather than bring it on.
I love that. And that definitely resonates for me. And what I was thinking of when you were sharing that was, I remember the stage of my life, which I'm no longer in, when I had babies that didn't sleep through the night and was just sleep deprived all the time.
Yes.
That inner critic in my head was very, very loud during that part of my life. And I didn't really realize it until I finished that season of life and was sleeping and was not sleep deprived. And then I was like, oh, I didn't really believe all those things about myself. I was just sleep deprived for a couple of years. So
yes. Yeah.
I'm going to just repeat what you said because I loved it so much, that those voices echo louder when we have an empty vessel. That is beautiful little wisdom.
And I think, as I was sort of preparing and thinking about how I fill up, how do I fill my creative well, how do I, and what am I doing to make sure that I don't run out, that I don't get depleted. I think there's something in there about what's the words? The frequency. Let's take the garden analogy.
Mm.
Imagine if you have a garden, or if you have a plant, if you have a pot plant in your house somewhere, you have any sort of plant, and you said, I'm going to water it once a year. Once a year, I will water my plant. And we do that to ourselves. We'll go, oh, I'll go on a retreat. I'll
Yeah.
go on a retreat once a year. Once a year, I'll go on holiday. And you go, would you expect your plant to survive if you watered it? It had to have to be a very special plant. And I will put in a sort of a PS in here. Oh, by the way, there are plants that can exist like that, but they're rare.
Mhm.
They are very, very rare. Most plants need a lot more attention and care and watering more than once a year. And so for me, it's and you can, you look up on the internet, how often should you water a plant? Well, it depends on the plant, and that applies to us. We all have different requirements. When you were in the place of not having any sleep for 2 years, you probably needed a lot more filling up and a lot more TLC. And of course, I've been there with little babies. That actually, what happens is you find you give yourself even less
Yes.
self-care, even less permission to take some time out. So it's not one size fits all. There's no right or wrong way of doing this, but it's very much about leaning in and listening to what you need, what you require, and how good your reserves are. If you've got a bit of a leaky water butt, it's going to leak out all the time. The tap's permanently turned on and you're wondering why you can't fill up. That's another, because we as women do that. We give and we give and we give. And so if you're giving constantly, you need a constant
Mhm.
filling up.
Yes.
So lots of lovely garden analogies here.
Yes. And what I was thinking about, Celia, too, while you were talking about, that plant that you're going to water once a year is we're so willing to research our plant and then water it every week, but we're so less willing to do that for ourselves. Or,
Yeah.
we get a plant, and I'm not using a metaphor. I mean, we get a literal plant and we're like, I'm going to take the best care of this plant and make sure it doesn't die. But then when it comes to our own needs, we're like, well, I'm fine. I can
Yes,
go a year without water. It's fine.
absolutely. Yeah. And that, I think, is why the garden is such a beautiful symbol and a reminder, that and I have plants out in my garden, and I look and I go, what's that with you? Why are you not thriving? And you go, oh, well, actually, it's either in the wrong soil, and I've had plants like that in my garden that they're never going to grow. They're in the wrong soil, they're wrong temperature, wrong climate. And we try and grow stuff. We try and grow stuff in our own lives that is, that comparison queen. Yeah,
Mhm.
does she rock up occasionally? And you go, oh well, they're doing this, and you go, yeah, but that's not what you're being asked to do.
Yes.
So there's that, what are you growing? And sometimes, I mean, I have one of the most meditative practices that I have, especially in the summer when the weather's a bit nicer, is I will tip out a pot in my garden, tip it all out completely, and actually go, what have I got in this pot? Because what happens in my garden is things seed themselves, and so you end up with a pot and it's got a bit of this, bit of that, bit of the other, and you go, no, let's just tip it out, let's see what's there, let's refresh the compost, let's put some new soil, oh, let's give it some food, let's give it some plant food. And we need to do that for ourselves. That is a beautiful symbol of the inner work that we do when we do have a retreat. That's sort of what we're doing in this container, is going, actually, what is going on? Let's tip a pot out.
Mhm.
Let's see what's happening. What do I want to put back? Is that a weed? Or is actually that's an, oh, there's a little tiny plant there. And if I nurture that, then that will become something. So, you know, retreats are a beautiful time to actually do some of the deeper work, the clearing out. But it's not a time for, oh well, I did a retreat this year, and why am I not thriving?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love that practice of tipping the pot out. And what I was thinking was, and it's dirty, it's messy, right? When you got to make a mess if you're going to tip a pot out. You got to be willing.
Yeah. Are you willing to get your hands dirty? You know, you're going to get stuck in there. And sometimes, you know, our inner work can feel a bit like that.
Mhm.
When you know, I talk in garden party about doing the shadow work and doing and going through the mill of doing the work that it feels hard and it feels mucky and it feels dirty. But that's where we get the best transformation. We find the treasure. We go, oh, look, I found a bulb I didn't know was in there. And you know, that's where we can really make we can experience the greatest growth, I think, when we're willing to do the work. And women that are watching this, anybody watching this summit has already taken that step, saying, yeah, I want to do the work.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, all right, Celia, I know you're going to guide us through a creative practice today. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, you know, as I was thinking about how I fill up my creative well, for me, ritual is very important. Ritual, uh, remembering to breathe, you know, actually mindfully and focus on my breath. Um, and my what I call my daily practice. Now, my daily practice has variety. It doesn't. I've got an inner child that has a very low boredom threshold, and so we do different things each day in our daily practice. But it's all about raising my vibration. And the practice I'm going to share with you is what I call soul journaling. This is doodling with intention. So we are going to doodle around the idea of a storage system in our garden and what we're watering and how we're watering it, and just a little look at what is growing in our garden. And for me, creativity, creativity with no required outcome, because if we are creatives, often we are creating for a purpose. But in my daily practice, this doodling with intention is not, I'm not going to produce a beautiful piece of art that
Right.
I can sell. You know, that's not its purpose at all. It's about accessing. So my soul journaling process allows me to access my inner wisdom, my intuition, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate. So people might like to just listen to it as a meditation and then have a go, or you know, work along with me. So
Okay,
that's
so
what we're going to
they,
do.
our folks should grab like an art journal or a notebook or any kind of.
Yes. So either now, as we said before, I'm also a Cosmic Smash book guide. So I have a this is my latest, my current Cosmic Smash book, which wanted to be seen despite the fact that the page in there is wet, and I'm going, really, really. So if you're going to do that, you want to be able to have a journal, and you can see it doesn't matter. You know, my Cosmic Smash book has bits of, you know, stuff all running all down it. But a page that you can work across, or just a piece of paper. I invite you to not have one with spirals down the middle, because we are going to cross the page. There's a really powerful activation that happens when we cross over that boundary, connecting the left and the right side of our brain. So a page that you can cross. We are going to fold it in half, so that helps as well. Colouring pens. I might. We're thinking about water. We're thinking about being in flow. We're thinking about resilience. So I will have some watercolors at my fingertips, because think they are going to want to be seen. So colouring goodies,
Beautiful.
maybe some watercolours. That's about it.
All right, sounds good. Let's do it.
Lovely, thank you.
So welcome to my studio, welcome to my art table. I'm very excited to be able to share this little creative activity, a creative soul journaling meditation with you today. As you can see, I've got a candle because for me, whenever I think about filling up my creative well, ritual is such an important part. And yes, we're going to be doing a nice little activity, but I want to just bring the energy of ritual to our activity today. So I'm going to light my candle. There we go. And I have also chosen a couple of little crystals that want to be there. I'm just going to move that out of the way because I don't want to set fire to anything. Okay, let me talk to you about the supplies I'm going to use today. I have chosen a selection of marker pens that are water-based. We're going to be using some water on our journaling today. So I've chosen some markers that are water activated. So I can use water on these and they're going to do some exciting things. I also have a couple of markers that are not water based. So I'll be able to write with those and then they're not going to bleed on the page. So I've got those just in case. I have a little pot there with a watercolor brush and a little bit of water in there. I also have a glass of water for myself because one of these important things to remember is when we are changing the way we think, we are creating new neural pathways in our brain. And in order to do that, we need to be hydrated. And what a beautiful way to just bless this activity that we're going to do today together by having a sip of water and thinking about the nourishment we receive as we fill up our creative well. The paper, I've decided I'm going to work on a piece of paper just for ease today, but you could absolutely do this in a journal, but I just fancy doing it on a fresh sheet of paper. And what I've done is I've actually folded my paper in half. Now let me talk to you about why I do that. Down the centre of my page is now an almost invisible barrier. And quite often when we're working, when we decide that we want to dedicate a time to a creative practice, a daily practice, when we want to fill up our well, we create for ourselves an invisible barrier that stops us doing what we really want to do. And so as we are working across the whole page today, we are sending a very powerful, strong message to our subconscious that there are no barriers. Nothing is going to stop us doing what lights us up, what fills us up. And to start off with, we're going to draw a symbol right in the center of our page. A symbol that represents our creative well. Now, I think about gardens and gardening, so my symbol of my creative well is going to be a water barrel that sits in my garden. This is how my garden is nourished. Now, you'll notice it's a bit wonky. That's okay, because, you know, this is not about perfection. So here is my water barrel. We call them water butts in the UK, which I think is, you know, that's just fun, isn't it? So here is my water barrel. And I can think about, where's the level of my water barrel? You know, maybe we're sort of feeling that maybe we are feeling sort of half full. You know, I'd like to invite you just to draw a line on your water barrel to show how full do you feel today. And we need to have a tap. So I'm going to draw a little tap. Now, as I work, I am drawing symbols. I am not thinking about this being a super accurate, creative representation, beautiful art, fine art drawing of my water barrel, my water butt. Here's my tap, and we can think about the symbolism of what we're drawing in another session. So here is my barrel. We've got a little bit of water in there. Maybe we've got some, you know, we've got some water in there. We may feel a little bit depleted, maybe even a little bit muddy. Maybe that water barrel is a little bit muddy. That's interesting that wants to come through. So let's have some of this water. It's a bit sludgy down the bottom of my barrel. Okay. Now we're going to draw a pipe, because what we're going to have on this side of our page is a representation of what are you growing in your garden that needs to be nurtured and nourished and is going to benefit from the flow of water coming from our water butt. Okay, so I'm going to draw my little windy hose pipe coming out of my water barrel, and even as I'm drawing it, I can feel that some areas of this hose pipe are quite narrow and sometimes they're quite wide. You know, sometimes we just need to spend some time straightening out our pipe. We don't want any knots or kinks in this pipe, because this is what's going to happen. The water is going to flow. Our energy flows out of our barrel, out of the tap, and it comes down and flows out into our garden. So I invite you now to think about, what are you growing? What are you growing in your garden, in your life, in your business? I'm just going to draw, to start off with, we're going to draw some symbols of some very simple little plant shapes. What we're doing is we're activating our subconscious, we're activating our intuition as we start to think about, what are we growing in our gardens. Interesting, I've got some very bright, healthy little green plants. I've got some other plants that maybe are not so bright, not so vibrant. They need watering too. Okay, now I'm going to use my pen that I know isn't going to run too much, and I'm just going to add a few words to my representation of my garden. These I feel these are my staple crops. These are what I'm growing all of the time. This is needs a constant supply of water, of energy flowing through this area of my garden. What drains your energy, really? You know, what is pulling out all of this energy all of the time? And I'm just going to spend a moment thinking about the areas of my life that ask for constant nourishment. My work, my business, my family, my friends. Maybe you have colleagues. I'm very lucky, I work for myself, but I do have you know, I have collaborations with other business owners, just as I'm doing here. What else drains my energy? Interesting that a lot of social time actually takes quite a lot of energy for me. So I invite you, when you're doing this, just spend a little time thinking about all of the things that you are growing in your garden that needs a constant supply of energy and water. I've just written a few, and I will add to these probably after this demonstration. So if this is energy that is flowing out, then we need to start thinking about, well, how am I filling up? Where's the water? You know, what energy is coming into my garden? Because you can see immediately, if this is a constant, an outpouring, if you like, coming out of here, we need to be filling up, because if we don't fill up, we are going to very quickly empty our water barrel, our water butt. And it is so important that we spend attention, we pay attention, spend time. I'm smiling because that's I can see a sort of smiley face there, and my water butt is happy that that I am filling up. There is new life coming in, new energy coming in to my water barrel. Okay, so how do I fill up? How do I fill up? Well, I fill up, as we started, you know, I shared with you that little moment of ritual. For me, my daily practice, having a ritual when I do even a process like this, ritual, daily practice. Okay, that is for me the most important. I'm going to put laughter. Laughter fills up. Laugh. That fills up my water barrel. You know, this little smiley face on my water barrel. Having fun, creativity, sharing the love of my family and my friends. What else? What else wants to come in to my water butt, into my barrel? I like to follow the rhythm of nature. Nature wants to be right in the, you know, this is already in my water barrel, filling up as I connect with nature. I follow the rhythm of the moon cycles. Let's just draw a little moon symbol in there. And maybe you don't have words, maybe you just have symbols that want to come as they are filling up your water barrel. And again, you can take your time as you spend time with your image, as you awaken your subconscious through colour and through symbol and through words, as we start to think about what is really filling us up, what is making us full of joy. In comes joy. In comes joy into my water barrel. And while you're doing this, you might go backwards and forwards from your barrel as to what you are receiving, how you fill up your creative well, and also maybe something else wants to come on here as something that is requiring energy. Looking after my home, that is something that is important to me. Now, over on this side, I wanted to share with you my thoughts around some of the seasonal things that I grow in my garden. Here I've got my staple crops. These are things that happen all the time. And I'm just going to draw a couple of pots. I'm going to draw a few pots that are in my garden. I love having tubs in my garden. And I have different things in my tubs depending on the time of the year. And as I think about this one down here, which is sort of, it's sort of at the bottom of the page here, and this one represents seasonal plants that are ready for the next season. I'm going to draw some little bulbs in here because the time of year that I'm recording this, my bulbs are dormant. My bulbs are sitting hidden away in the dark of the soil. I know, and I trust. I know because I saw some peeking out the other day when I was exploring one of the tubs, that they're beginning to have little shoots. They're beginning to send out their roots ready for the next season of growth. Now, right now, they don't require a lot of my attention. What I've got on the top here is some bare soil. I noticed the other day that there was a little bit of, you know, there's a few bits of scrubby, straggly stuff that's seeded itself into that pot. I know that these weeds get to be cleared before the new season. But today we're really thinking about, what are we growing? Okay, let's have a think. What is growing in these two pots? What is growing up? And what I have coming up from these two pots are strong, healthy plants that have been growing this season. Just take a moment just to drop into sort of, you know, meditative place as you add the leaves. I might think about, you know, what do the roots look like? I'm going to have some red roots because these feel, you know, really rooted and, oh, it's quite pink. Oh, I've got pink roots. Okay. These pink roots are spread throughout the pot, giving the plant stability. I wonder what flower shall I have on the top of that one? Okay. And so don't overthink this, but just go, oh, what does this flower look like? And I'm just going to draw a representation. And as I think about this flower, this plant that is growing, just allow your subconscious to direct and allow the marks to appear on the page. Don't overthink the mark making, but just allow. Okay, and then you can start ask your subconscious, okay, what is this plant telling me? What does this plant want to say to me as I think about what am I growing in this garden? Okay, for me, the message I get there is this plant feels very soft, and it also has lots of layers. And as I think about that, I can recognize the symbolism that has for me in my garden at this time for me. I'm going to add some leaves to this plant. And again, you can spend your time, you can drop into a beautiful meditative place as you just allow these leaves to take shape. And then I'm going to ask, what does this flower look like? What have I been growing this season? What have I been growing? Imagine all of those roots again. Maybe this plant is one that is what we call a perennial. It will come up each year, but it does require some some TLC. It requires looking after. That is what I'm feeling into that particular seasonal plant. It feels a bit spiky. The petals on this flower feel different. There are different shapes. So just allow that to flow onto your page, and you can start asking questions of your subconscious of, what is this flower? What message does this flower have for me at this time? I'm noticing the yellow. I'm noticing that expansion from the orange to a golden yellow. Feels a little bit like a sunflower maybe. Maybe it wants to have lots of seeds in the center. Just really allow your subconscious to speak to you. Don't worry about whether this, you never have a flower that looks like that. That's okay. What is going on for you as you make these marks on the page? I love that, and I'm really feeling. So notice what's happening in your body as you do this. That as I was drawing this particular flower, there was a sort of sense of rising energy coming. There's some excitement there as I drew those seeds. You go, ooh, okay. So just notice, you might like to take your thoughts to a journal, either as you are doing this activity or when you have completed. So what is coming up for you as you draw these very simple shapes? Our subconscious is activated when we receive our wisdom and messages through intuition. It's activated through vibration, which we receive as colour and symbol, and then image, and then words. So we get a lot of information just from doing this sort of colouring, which I think is just a beautiful way to lean in and listen to what our inner wisdom wants to tell us. Oh, I love that flower. Okay. Oh, but they need watering. These seasonal plants, they may only be with us for a season. Maybe this feels like it's going to die down, and then it will have a dormant time while the bulbs take over, and then they sort of, this will come back to life in the next season. But they do need to be watered. They too need to have that love and care and attention poured out. So I'm going to have a watering can. My watering can is going to be purple, because why not? And I'm going to draw a very simple shape of a watering can, if I can. And again, it's not about worrying about, does this look like a watering can? Let's just do that. Okay. So it's a very funny looking watering can, but that is okay. I know that sends a message to my subconscious. These plants too also get to be watered and nurtured and nourished with all of the activities, the ritual and creativity, the laughter, the love, the fun, the play. Oh, I haven't got play down there. Let's add play. Because this is how we fill up, the rhythm of nature, paying attention to the cycles of nature, allowing the dormant pots to rest. You know, how often do we try and keep our plants growing all the time? And you know what? If we try and do that, we're just going to get burnt out. These little bulbs in here have been resting. They've been resting all through the summer, and they are going to get ready for the spring. They don't need a lot of water. It's interesting, you know, plants that are dormant, they might have a little drop every now and again just to make sure they don't dry out, but we don't need to overwater them. We do need to take those weeds away. So maybe what I will do is just symbolically, let's see what happens if we just use some water and remove those weeds. Because now my little bulbs that are tucked away under the soil will be able to come to life in the spring. So I'm just going to add some water to my picture. As I come back to my water butt, I am aware of crossing that barrier, that boundary across the middle of my page, as I think about, oh, how often do we say to ourselves, oh, I haven't got time. I haven't got time for creativity. I haven't got time to do my daily practice. I've not got time to connect with spirit, because that's what we're doing as we receive this power into our lives. And so as I'm just adding some water and some more colour to these little shapes, I'm thinking about, no, I need, you know, what is more important? we've got to do this. We've got to do this work, because we have this flow. If we don't fill up, then what is going to happen to all of these creative collaborations, all the love that we share with our families and our friends? Then, you know, the pipe gets clogged up, all the gunge at the bottom of the barrel is not going to do your water pipes any good. So there's my invitation. Clean out your pipes. Okay, and I love this. So I've sort of got quite a clear message from this flower. I got quite a body reaction when I was drawing that one and painting that one. So I want to come back to this one and just spend some time thinking, this one really wanted a bit more water on, as I'm thinking about the layers, the softness, the gentleness that this plant represents. And let's just add, so I've gone a bit green, let's add a bit more blue to those. So just notice as you're working, you know, what's coming up for you. Where do you want some more colour? Where do you want more water? I'm really quite liking this sort of rather misshapen area down here, because so often we don't pay attention to the areas where we need to rest. And that, of course, is part of filling up our creative well, of looking after ourselves, of recognizing what we need, especially a purple watering can. You know, we need to give ourselves the space to rest, to restore, because that little plant down the bottom there, that's what that is telling me. And it's really interesting. So my inner critic is saying going, oh, this is now not very defined. It's not very clear. Okay, but that's all right, because quite often in our lives, we have areas that lack clarity, that do lack clarity. But we can always add that detail back in. And when we do this as a creative activity, the fun thing about this wonderful process of soul journaling is what I do on my page. My brain doesn't know that I haven't done that in reality. So it's sending the message that if things get a little bit foggy, then that's okay. We can just lean back in and add that detail back in. We're learning to trust here. And remember, this particular flower, I was receiving the message of be gentle with yourself. So I do invite you to take your time with this activity. I've gone quite quickly just so that I can demonstrate it to you. But spend some time in meditation. You might do that in 2 or 3 different stages. You might think about where is your energy going? Might be a whole session of creative ritual. Then you might think about how you are filling up your creative well, and then you might spend another session thinking about what are you actually growing? What are you growing in your garden? So I feel like my pots want to be tidied up a bit there. And you can see that I'm not worrying about this being a true representation of plants, but more the symbols that our subconscious receives when we pause, we breathe, we take time in meditation to receive all of the energies that fill us up. I want to add meditation. I'm just going to put breathe. I'm just going to put breathe in here, because some days that's all you need to do. It's just to breathe and receive. So thank you for joining me in my studio at the art table, and I hope you have enjoyed this creative soul journaling process. I'm going, oh, I need some water over here for these plants, you know, as I was looking at my picture. So always come back and go, what else is needed? So thank you so much for joining me. And as always, I will see you in the garden.
All right. Thank you so much, Celia, for guiding us through that practice. I know our viewers are going to get a lot out of that.
My pleasure.
Beautiful. So Celia, before we wrap up here today, I know you also have a free gift that you'd like to offer our community. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do. So I think what happens for many of us when we are in that place of feeling a little bit depleted, a little bit dry, a little bit stuck, even to the point of being, sometimes we can get stuck in the mud. We can get a little bit overwhelmed with everything. And for me, the key thing is about getting started. So in Garden Party, I talk about the start of the journey. Getting to that point where you go, I am here and I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be somewhere else. I don't want to be feeling stuck. I don't want to be feeling dried up. I don't want to be feeling this lack and scarcity. I want to access the abundance and the joy and the gratitude and being in flow. And so my gift is the start of the journey. It's my magical key number 1, which I share with you. There is a workbook. I'm an ex-teacher, so I'm going to give you some work to do. But I also give you a permission slip. So there is all that. So an invitation to actually start your journey, having a little look at what stops us getting started, and an invitation to connect with me if you'd like a one-to-one conversation. Come and have a cup of tea in my virtual garden.
Yes, beautiful. All right, Celia, thank you so much for being here today. It's been so fun chatting with you. And thank you for sharing your garden with all of us.
Thank you very much, Aimee. Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. We will be back with another session shortly. Bye, everyone.
Bye.